think will
You
quit?
take him to school.
Who do you think will quit? You're
eat
wrong.
so many
You're
jabs.
going to get the shock of your life.
No, it's better to burn out than fade away.
There we go.
He is not elite yet. Tell me one elite fighter he's beat.
You want to see what the Silk said?
Yes.
I don't know whether to float or gloat.
What size feet is he, Ben?
Hello and welcome to another episode of Sugar, Silk and Stretch, arguably the best boxing podcast in the world. My name's Ben Doughty.
My name is Michael Silcolagide.
We don't got any Stretch tonight because he's in transit again. He lives a jet set life, that young man. So myself and my learned cohort will press on in his stead. Silk,
Wait, what kind of cohort am I? You said I'm a what cohort?
Learned.
Oh, learned. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I like
Yeah,
that. Okay, learned cohort. Yeah.
Yeah.
Meaning a teacher, or you're going to teach me?
Well, that's debatable, isn't it? That's open to interpretation. What's all that noise?
Yeah, it's a racket. It's like, well, I'm in a boxing gym, so I'm about to get out of this room. But keep talking. I hear you.
Okay, guys, listen, we already did an episode on Friday about the highly controversial, nominally female welterweight, Iman Khelif, who now, I believe in about 40 minutes, will be boxing in the Olympic final, going for a gold medal versus the Chinese opponent. Sorry about this, guys. There's a lot of noise interference. Versus the Chinese opponent, Lu Yang. The controversy hasn't gone away. How's it going, EJ? Danny Graham? Sorry about this, guys. There's a lot of noise. I realise that. Silk's going to go to a quiet room. Where is that gym, Silk?
It's on Broadway and Bleecker.
Okay. Yeah, I remember Bleecker Street because that's kind of like Greenwich Village and a whole bunch of bohemian bars and stuff. And
Yeah, it's not as bright as the other ones. It's Bleecker.
Yeah, yes, true. It was a bleaker street than its neighbouring kind of boulevard, I seem to recall.
There you go.
Yeah. Okay. The woman, okay, says EJ Love. Well, people are so divided on it. Listen, we did a show on Friday, and the Silk in particular said he changed his mind from the initial perception he had. He was encouraged to believe because of the initial media furore. The facts emerged that Iman Khelif was born female, raised female, socialised female, started boxing as a female, always competed female, had proven to be good at international, world-class international level, but hardly unbeatable and not a great puncher. So any sense of the implicit male advantage that has been suggested that Khelif enjoys, we couldn't immediately see it. And we were kind of sort of not done and dusted with it, but that was our take on it. Silk said, that should be your steering wheel in life, is information and facts as they emerge. Mm-hmm. And I also love what you said earlier in the week or last week, Silk, when you said, listen, when it comes to all this outrage that people were purporting to have, you said, we've all seen more masculine looking women and more feminine looking men. And you could throw a stick and almost hit 6 of them in each case in a cosmopolitan city, right?
Yes.
So that's really not it. But having said that, a few people have tried to. I think I've been getting some messages from Algerian people. One of them said, "Brother, you have a lot of followers. Hopefully, they will listen to you and stop bullying," which I felt quite touched by. But this looks like could be somebody of that sort of nature now. But listen, I've seen recently, in the last couple of days, last 48 hours, a few programs, podcasts and stuff, where they've had experts like the developmental biologist Emma Hilton saying, no, she does have male advantage. Sorry, he does have male advantage, to use her preferred pronoun to describe Khelif. Here's what they're saying, Silk. If we can we really need to try and avoid that somehow.
I can't. If somebody's down 2 floors down and exiting their door. Sorry.
Okay. God damn it!
It's New York City news. It's like New York. It's the creeps of New York City. Sorry.
Okay, so here we go. So this is what Elmer Hilton says, and this is what some other people are saying. She was on a popular podcast called Heretics, by a guy called Andrew Gold, who incidentally said he had to build a massive social media audience because he couldn't get a job because he was white male. He said he couldn't get a job in front of the camera in today's world, because it's overrepresented by ethnics and women. Too many black people, too many women, and too many black women. And he was told by everybody who was going to employ him, Andrew Gold. He said they got to that awkward conversation where they say, "You're brilliant, you're good looking, your CV is great, but this is a bit of an awkward. This is the elephant in the room. But we're afraid you're white, so you're not going to get a job in front of the
But wait a
camera."
minute. But okay. So who are the women and the ethnic people speaking to? Right.
Do you want to put your head in the middle of the screen rather than off the side, like you're in Live and Let Die for a start? Thank you.
No, okay. I'm sorry, I forgot my train of thought for a second, but it didn't take too long.
I don't want to segue too much with this Andrew Gold, but I'm just
Okay,
saying his
so good.
premise.
I've never heard of it. I've never heard of him before.
He said he can't get a job in mainstream television or mainstream media because he's white, and white males, they're not the ticket right now because there's too much diversity box ticking. DEI they call it.
Okay, I understand that, but is that really the issue? Or is it the fact that now he's not the only voice talking? Now it's like there are other people that have there's more than one opinion. Before we used to get since the beginning of TV time up until now, or up until recently anyway, you would only get one voice speaking to you, one experience. You'd hear that. But exactly, you get the establishment, and we know who the establishment is. I mean, it is what it is, right? But now you have different ethnicities, and you have obviously the female sex, and they all have issues, and they have things that they want to say, and they should be heard. So like it does, as much as I understand how it feels, it is different for him because jobs aren't as plentiful for him. But
we're not here to talk about him, of course. I wanted to give you a little context, but I don't want to go down the rabbit hole of why Andrew Gold had to start a massive podcast, which is basically making your own thing happen.
And now he can start one for angry males. So he just needed to find his audience, and now he's found his audience. Yes.
So he's found his audience, and he had Emma Hilton on it yesterday, I believe. She's a developmental biologist, and what she said is this: you get babies. It's rare, but when you get a DSD, a disorder of sex development, he said you will get a baby sometimes that is developing in the womb as male, and if all the machinations are making a little boy, but then suddenly there'll be an enzyme deficiency, which makes them lack the protein required to grow an external penis. Imagine that. Which means when they were born, they have ambiguous genitalia, and for obvious reasons are identified as girls because of that. But the thing is, they will be, regardless of how things develop down below after that, and even in terms of the memories and stuff, they will be going through male puberty, and they will have a testosterone pathway of a male, which gives them the implicit male advantages of greater strength, greater muscle mass, and all the rest of it, basically, Silk. Now, what is being suggested is whether, because very little is actually known about Khelif in terms of her life up to this point, except her boxing record, which I've been researching quite a lot. But I don't know about her social life. I don't know about boyfriends. I don't know how her anatomy is. We can see she doesn't have the appearance of breasts, but that in itself, a lot of female athletes don't, right? But we don't know beyond that. What we know is, and here's what I didn't realize, Silk. They got flagged. Her and the Taiwanese girl got flagged at the World Championships in 2023, right? You heard that, yeah?
Sorry, he's there? Oh, I thought you did.
So you heard that her and the other girl got flagged at the 2023 World Championships, yes? Because they apparently failed a sex test, yes? A gender test. Not a testosterone test, a sex test. Get this. She got pulled from the fucking tournament after she'd already won 4 times. They let her enter, and they let her enter the previous 2022 as well. IBA presided World Championships, World Amateur Championships, where she lost in the quarterfinal. She lost in the final. In 2022 to Amy Broadhurst, who's just a regular little blonde girl who beat her fair and square. And I've just watched the fight. Did anybody have male advantage in it? I don't think so. So here we go. So they let her in the 2023. She won 4 times, and before she could contest the final, they said she failed a gender test and the Taiwanese girl, and they were pulled the plug on them. So I thought they were flagged from entering the tournament. No, they weren't. They entered. So what the hell's going on?
Well, to deal with first things first, when you talked about memories, were they misty watercolored memories of the
Yeah,
way we were?
I think the moon has lost its memories as well, so or has lost its memory. So it's not the only. There are other examples of this kind of
Misty
phenomenon.
watercolored memories of
See,
the
this
way
is the
we
thing, isn't
were.
it? I mean, I do this too. Where regardless of anything else, you just think of a wisecrack about 3 quarters in, and you're like, I'm just going to say that.
I
So
know I
anything
did.
else.
No, I didn't. I didn't want to interrupt you because you had the mic. You were, but I'm surprised I even remembered it. Okay, but anyway, yeah, no, I know where you're coming from, and I understand. Look, I mean, it's just the way the world is. There's just always something different. There are differing opinions, and whether those opinions are real, really based in fact, fact doesn't even matter. It doesn't even enter with a lot of people. I don't know how it functions like that. How do you ignore reality? How do you ignore
But what
the
is the reality here? Because the thing is, the IOC are not very clear either. You picked up on it when the news reporter a week ago said that the International Olympic Committee said, "Well, she's female on her passport. That's good enough for us." You were like, "What the hell?" You said, "Since when does that?" Because passports are in this day and age, passports can hardly be treated as an
Yeah,
inexorable piece of authority and documentation, can
exactly.
they?
Yes.
So
No, they can't.
so what I'm hearing, I've tried to learn as much as I can about all of this. Including, I've looked at her record, I've looked at the fights she's already had, I've been watching her fights. I've looked at the circumstances for Khelif being
Yeah.
flagged from the World Championships 2023, but not
Yeah.
having a problem entering them in
You
2022.
know who they are from their history, Ben. You know who they are from their history. Her history hasn't been like a female destroyer. She's not somebody that's come out just like and it is too much for women to function, to operate, to beat. It's
She's
been done.
competitive. She's competitive at international world class level, and she's in an
Yeah.
Olympic final. So she may be.
And how
She's
long
on
has
the
she been
verge.
boxing for?
I don't know exactly, but her record goes back to about 2020 in
Okay,
terms of
so and
welterweight.
she's how old is she?
25, I believe.
25. Okay, so I mean the male peak, physicality peak is speaking of like the physicality of men is anywhere from between like teenager to early 20s, right? That's when you're hitting
Yeah,
your peak.
yeah.
um
Well,
I don't know if they say she's getting stronger now and she's knocking out people. Is she on a weight
but she's
program?
not knocking out people. The only
Yeah.
stoppage she has in this Olympic run is that Italian girl. You saw that. The
So there you
Italian girl
go.
did.
Yeah. And barely touched her.
She didn't. And normally, Silk, you might say as an ex-boxer, you might look at a guy who goes down from what looks like an innocuous shot, let's say, and you might say, "Well, it didn't look much to me, but I'm not going to tell him because I didn't take the shot," or
Yeah.
especially with body shots. But we
Hmm.
are both confident of saying that Italian girl took sod all, right?
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
Italian
She
girl did
did.
not.
Yeah.
She said it's the
Yeah.
hardest she's ever been hit, and the newspapers are saying brutal 64, 46 seconds. That's just
Yes.
rubbish. That's just lies.
Yeah. Yeah. I think since she's retracted a lot of what she said about
She
it.
has,
I'm
yeah,
just saying, right?
apparently.
Yeah,
She
she
said
has.
sorry, yeah. I would
Yeah, she was
embrace
speaking
her.
out on it. Yeah, she was speaking out on an emotional sense, and I can understand that. Like emotionally, you people. The problem with is the ego, the human ego is like it cannot get out of its own way. Cannot like when the ego is hurt or disturbed or jostled, it reacts a certain way and is predictable. And what they do is they protect themselves. The people don't learn how to lose properly. If you don't learn how to lose, you're never going to learn how to win. That's a fact. Like the people that we see that went undefeated or get to the point where they're undefeated for a long time in their professional careers, like that end up, like Mayweather and whatever, they've lost early, and the distaste they got from that loss empowered them, gave them fuel to become undefeated the
Well, you
rest of the
talk
time.
about Mayweather. I mean, he lost agonizingly in the Olympic semi-final where he
There
wound
you
up with the
go.
bronze in
Yep.
1996 in Atlanta.
Hmm.
So he
Yeah.
knows about that kind of disappointment. But here's the thing, Silk. So Iman Khalif is on the verge of becoming the Olympic gold medalist at welterweight, female
Yes.
welterweight Olympic champion. Now, based on everything we've analysed, we know there's not some ridiculous freakish male advantage where she's leaving a pile of prone bodies in her wake. So
Hmm.
the only other alternative, let's suppose that the biological male argument upholds and we go along with that. the only other argument is this is a very average man who could not be successful any other way, who is trying to steal some bogus sporting glory by the only bogus path that is open to him because he'd get battered. There's no way that this boxer wouldn't get battered if they entered the male
Exactly.
Olympics.
Yes.
So it's either a bogus man trying to steal some sporting glory despicably, or else it's a masculine looking girl who is up there about. So my gut and my eyes tell me it's the latter.
Yeah, I think more the latter than the former myself. I mean, if Khelif really does have all the geneticisms of a man and all that kind of stuff, then listen, that needs to be taken care of. You shouldn't be competing. But from what everyone has said and from all the evidence that's being shown, he is a she, absolutely a she. And maybe he has, like I said, sexuality, physicality, everything, even the mind, the brain, everything's on a spectrum. And everyone has advantages and disadvantages. Some people are born more with, you look at distance runners and they're born with a longer, fibula and tibula. That allows them to
Henry
run
Armstrong
a lot better.
had a 3 times bigger heart, people say.
Exactly. What do you got to say? Now his heart's too big. He can't, he can't compete. I think we're getting hung up on the, you know what I mean? It really is crazy. We are getting hung up. I understand, yes, there are male, female divisions for a reason, 100%, maintain that. But when you start getting into, it starts getting unnecessarily convoluted when you start doing this kind of stuff. It really is.
The initial narrative because some people just want to believe that the world has lost its mind because of all these LGBTQ .14 subheading DZ generation lefty liberal wankers. And we know we know some intelligent right wingers who feel that way. So they already want to form that conclusion. So the conclusion was, this is what it's come to in 2024. You've got men beating up women, domestic violence kind of parody being upheld on the biggest stage, and it's just because he identifies as a woman, he's allowed to beat up women. Now, what they didn't really take into account at the time is they kind of frown upon the whole notion of transgender and being gay or anything else in Algeria. I'm told, and I didn't even think about it until this week or last week, is a very religious conservative country, and you couldn't be transgender there. That's one thing you couldn't be. And then I was arguing with someone yesterday who told me it's impossible to be transgender anyway. I said, well, maybe, but it's a thing. He said, no, it's not a thing. He said, and I'm like, well, it is a fucking thing because people keep talking about it, and maybe it is disingenuous that perhaps you genuinely cannot transit from one gender to another. Maybe that's impossible. I don't know. But what's Kelly Maloney? You remember Frank Maloney?
Yes.
Promoter? He's a woman now, right?
Yeah. I remember seeing that. That was like, I was shocked. I was taken aback. In fact, I had no idea. I mean, I didn't know anything about the British boxing scene anyway, but that was kind of even just come on, we go through these biases, and just the name Maloney has always been like a tough sounding, a tough sounding name. The Maloneys,
and he seemed like a typical lad, he'd be photographed with page 3 girls, the topless glamour models that used to be part of the national culture before we became 2PC. No, we
have.
But Frank, that really was bizarre because Frank, he must have been living a lie all those years.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. And a lot of people do that because, society isn't permissive. And then at some point, an individual obviously feels like, you know what, I can't continue to live this lie, basically. And that's what it comes down to. Not that this was the Algerian girl's problem. That wasn't her issue at all. She from day one, she's accepted herself how she is, and I'm sure she had to do a lot of work in order to get to where she is. And then I think part of it,
trying to suggest is that she and her family knows that she's got this male biology, so as per their narrative, and she's aware of it. And they know something's gone wrong because it can. people say God doesn't make mistakes. That's one of those common things. But sometimes things do get a bit fucked up. You do get these anomalies where you have a kind of intersex is a term I never heard until the last couple of weeks. DSD is something I hadn't heard. I've learned the types of certain DSDs.
Yeah.
Sometimes there is a bit of a mess and things are not.
I think a lot of people really, when people have an opinion on something they do not know to a professional extent, they project, and that's exactly how I see when a person tells me something, and I don't know it's for real or for certain or there's opinions in it. I look at it, and when they tell it to me, I'm saying this person is telling me what they feel. They're telling me about themselves. They're not telling me a fact. They're telling me how they're expressing to you how they feel about something.
And some people, people you've known for years on social media, on Facebook, whatever. There are some people what they're going to think on any given issue before they even type, right?
Oh,
You just
yeah.
know.
Yeah.
Now that's not a compliment, is it, Silk? That's not a compliment if you can be filed in that category.
No. Yeah. I mean, predictable. Anyone ever want to be known as predictable, right?
Exactly. I don't know. I mean, I can predict some of the things you're going to say because I've got to know you well, but I don't always know what you're going to say. Caravaggio here. Oh, sorry if I'm pronouncing that wrong. Caravaggio says, "What is reality? Is people lose their lives in the ring? They do, but that's not necessarily relevant to this situation, is it?" He says XY chromosomes, mate. Here's the thing, Silk. The IBA are implying that both.
Now, tell them about the IBA. The IBA, they've kind of been disproven, haven't they?
They've lost. They've been disaffiliated from the International Olympic Committee because of allegations of corruption, lack of financial transparency.
There we go.
And corruption.
So right away, that has to be taken into consideration.
It does, but Emma Hilton today said that's got nothing to do with lab testing. Just because they've got some skeletons out.
Why does it have nothing to do with lab testing? Why? Yeah. I mean, they get the results, they get all the feedback before it goes to anybody. So I don't understand.
So here's the thing, Silk. With the history of the IBA and their World Championships, they allowed Khelif to enter 2022. No controversy, no issues. She lost in the final to Amy Broadhurst. Okay. They allowed her to box 4 times in the 2023 version. Then they flagged her before the final, saying her and the Taiwanese girl. They said we can't reveal the details of these tests, but they're not eligible to enter as females after already boxing 4 fucking times. So they implied they had XY chromosomes.
Is the Taiwanese girl still in the competition?
I think so. She's certain. I believe so. Yeah. That's going to make it worse. They're both going to win, and people are going to say the world's gone bloody mad.
This has been around. It was worse than what they're thinking now. Like the world has been worse, and it didn't come to an end before. You know what I mean? Could you imagine? Like, wow. I mean, there are days. Like this is a drama that people could turn off. They don't have to pay attention to this at all, and the world is going to go on and be just fine without, people having to sort this stuff out. Everything when you're dealing with human beings, and we're dealing with issues like that are troubling, or you have to have a level of empathy first. You have to have a level of understanding. And not that you're giving them empathy or sympathy to the point where you're allowing cheating to go on, but you have to understand where a person's coming from. And you have to understand that, yes, things aren't black and white. It isn't just this and that. There's this, and then there's many shades in between before you get to that.
So when people are watching this podcast, we're very pains to stress it's not all just black and white, yes?
I'm sorry?
I said when people watch this podcast, we're very much at pains to stress this is not just black and white. Yes.
No, it's not. It's white.
I'm talking about I'm talking about the faces on screen.
Yeah, it's white, black, and white.
Yeah. well, you normally because Gary's normally here as well, but But it makes us some kind of Oreo, right, or whatever.
A reverse, Oreo in reverse. What do they call it? What's that? When when Superman's in that alternate universe, I forget what they call it. Bizarro.
Yeah, I know what you mean. It's like that. Well, see, that's what Clarissa Shields said when I got a picture with her with Natalie, my ex-girlfriend, a few years ago when we met her in a gym in South London. her publicist was obviously suggesting Clarissa should be in the middle. But you know me, I wanted to go in the middle with the chick on either side. And then the publicist said, well, no, surely we should put Clarissa like the star in the middle.
Yeah.
I said, I was just thinking a color scheme. And Clarissa said,
you were just thinking, yeah, color scheme, my foot. You're thinking sexually.
Then Clarissa said, I know what you're thinking. She goes, we can be a black Oreo. So I think she's great.
I call it a Blorio.
I think Clarissa Shields took a dim view of this. I haven't seen her recent statements, but when it first broke, she was saying it's really ironic because Clarissa said, "Oh, this is out of order, men beating up women." And how many men has she called out? That was really weird that she should be so vocal on it, right?
Yeah, it really is. But I wonder what her position would be now. Talking about it, and I wonder how the position would be with a lot of. I mean, look, you have to be presented facts, and you have to come from a basic understanding. Like there has to be some base form of intelligence, like base level of intelligence you're coming from. Because if you're coming from something that doesn't have, if you're stating your opinion on something without scientific reason, without that kind of understanding, if you're coming just from like, I don't know, let's just say a primitive sense of how human beings have evolved and how they grow and how they are different. You know what I mean? It's like you don't understand that my color is the way my color is because I'm people of the savannah region. You know what I mean? And people who are like you that are lighter skinned have kind of like your bodies have adapted to the climate you have been at for hundreds of thousands of years. And same with Asians, their bodies have adapted to what it's been for hundreds of thousands of years. And that's just kind of like how it is. That's why our bodies, that's why our skin color, that's why, Asian eyes are the way they are. That's why black nostrils are the way they are. That's why white lips are the way they are. You know what I mean? It's obviously based on, it's climate based. It's where you've and this is the same thing with, like, there's a range in sexuality as well. There's some people that are hardcore 100% heterosexual, and you go from there, and then you'll take a range all the way down to the most feminine, gayest of males. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure. And that's
and there's a way in which we want it, and which is perfect in our dreamscape. I understand that. This is the way. It's easy. It's A, B, C.
So you seem to have formed the view based on everything you've heard from either from external sources or from me that this is a woman born without a penis, shall we say, certainly, regardless of whether it was a fully formed vagina or even, but definitely no penis at birth, who doesn't quite fit into the computer, yes? But it doesn't fit into nature's physiological computer.
Exactly.
As some people don't. And that's
Ben, do you know how many males are born with undescended testicles? The testes. You know how many men are born without that? And if that's not caught early, like that's like, I mean, I can't speak scientifically about it because I just don't know that lingo, and I know it's much more convoluted than I can explain. But I don't know. I just think there are so many things that can happen in the development of it. Yes.
I think they need to grow a pair.
Well, you know what I mean? But I mean, undescended testes, right? That's a real thing. It's a legitimate thing, and it happens with a lot of males. And so, like the male organs are more internal. They don't descend the way they're supposed to, and you go from there. I mean, it's not. It's not
Caravaggio
Chinese
is taking a
arithmetic.
position that a lot of people are taking. He says they are intersex with XY chromosome and male puberty, and it ain't right, chaps. That's his position. So he said it's not right, boys. It's not right.
Is she XY?
That's what the IBA are trying to say. But here's
That's
the
what
thing,
the IBA are trying to say, but no one else has said that.
No, just them. And they said
XX is female, XY is male, and this.
But apparently you can be XY and still have
female genitalia.
Yes, you can. It's not very common, of course, but it can happen. And this is what we're talking about. We're talking about DSD, development of sex disorder. But the IBA said they cannot publish, because the tests are subject to confidentiality, they cannot reveal the nature of the tests or the results. They're just asking people to read between the lines. And they said they're not XX. It's what they kind of said.
So I mean, But if they have the results, why don't they publish instead of just
Because
saying
they're
it?
bound by confidentiality. As I say,
But
my
okay,
issue.
confidentiality to who? To the boxer? Why don't they
Yeah,
ask
yeah.
Khalif? So why? So she can say, if she says to them, release the records, they will.
She could, but I guess what I imagine is they're protecting her to some degree and keeping her away from all this and just keeping her focused on the prize. She has spoken a bit about the bullying. Like I said, I've got messages from not Nigerians, Algerians.
Algerians, yeah.
Yeah, Algerians saying that thank you for your support because I've taken whatever position I've taken on it. You know, I've been trying to be try to look at the facts, to be honest. I don't want to call it open-minded or anything else. Fair and factual is the way I've tried to be. But this is still not a hill I'm prepared to die on, Silk, or I'm looking to die on. If
Yeah.
somebody can convince me, or if some information comes to light subsequently, let's say she wins the gold, and it's got to be coming up. Can anyone help us with this? The fight is coming up soon. I was almost tempted to have a watch along, but I don't know how to stream the Olympic boxing the same way I know how to stream all the professional boxing. So that was my issue. But I'm not saying my mind couldn't be changed. I just sat before we came live here. I sat through the Emma Hilton, who had a very scientific explanation, but all she was talking about was DSDs in general. She wasn't talking about Iman Khalif because she didn't know anything about her. And that guy Andrew Gold put on his Twitter feed, this is proof. This is disgusting. This is proof that she's male. That he's male. Sorry.
Do you think
There's no
some people
proof.
are just trying to just like grab headlines and it's the easiest? It's the easiest thing to like. It's like a dog whistle. It's like you're calling you're calling that like-minded people that are they're knee jerk. I mean, we all do it, right? I did it. Right away, I was just like, no, it's wrong. But then you find out information, you're able to form an opinion, and it's balanced. And
Yeah.
still, and still to this point, if they came back and said, well, the chromosomes and her sexuality, like her actual equipment, it is male, then you're like, oh, okay, I can go
But you
back
know,
the other way still.
there was a picture doing the rounds that looks like she's got a dick. You know, a little bulge in the shorts. I mean, come on. Your shorts and fabric can go all sorts of ways. She's probably got a fucking protector on because women wear protectors too,
Yes,
usually. So
yes,
a lot of them do. So
yes.
someone was trying to say there was a picture of her adjusting her junk, as it were, which is just complete with with the obligatory circle around the
I
bit just in
heard
case you
somebody
missed it.
say after the fight, the fight before the Italian girl, that Khalif fondled her opponent, like fondled her breasts after they came together and said, congratulations.
Seriously, you saw
Yeah,
that?
yes, I saw that. It was online. I was like, how absolutely idiotic is this?
Yeah.
It's just it's I don't know.
Yeah.
It's
Not only is he
but
beating them up,
again,
he's
but
groping
Ben,
them as well. The
yeah,
bastard.
yeah, the groper, yeah, serial groper, the whole thing. I mean, it's beyond sensationalism. It's again, it's projection. You know what I mean? It's like
Yeah.
what you read into the situation. And I understand everyone has an opinion, and you kind of you have to respect it and understand where it comes from. But and then the thing is, if you understand where it comes from, and it's based in ignorance, or it's based in their religious values, or it's based in kind of like their lack of experience and lack of seeing things that happen in the real world. It's like
Yeah.
you don't really see nature.
No.
You know what I mean? People aren't really seeing nature. They don't,
No. So there's the argument. Basically, we certainly what we can be sure of. Let's try because I'm really trying to simplify this as best I can. What we can be
Yeah.
sure of. You've gone to the
Mhm.
side again a little. What we can be sure of is that she wasn't born male, completely normally formed, obviously formed with a. Well, you know what? We can't even be sure of that, but that seems to be the case. That that they thought she was a girl at the very least. Yeah, at birth,
Yeah.
everybody thought she was a girl.
Yeah.
That's what we seem to know.
Yes.
Um,
Everyone thought
and
he
then
was a.
after that, I don't know what age she started boxing. You know, it'd be fascinating to have her on this podcast, and I've got an interpreter who could translate for her if she wants to come on it.
I mean, that would be the biggest. That would be amazing. It's a reach.
It's a reach,
It's a
yeah,
reach, but I'm sure she.
but
I'm
not a
sure she
reach
just.
around.
Ooh, you're skating, Ben. The women are going to come at you for that one, or
Yeah.
maybe the men will. Who knows?
Well, you just don't know anymore, Silk. It's crazy out there.
Yeah, it really is. You can't, you can't say the right thing anymore. You can't say the right thing because
I remember you.
you only say what you feel and that's the only thing you should say. You say what you
I
feel.
remember you saying that there was a picture of Katie Taylor and Amanda Serrano weighing in before their fight a couple of years ago, and you said the Latino looking one's hot, or something like that. Or you didn't even say hot, but you said, you know, thumbs up. But you said, are we still allowed to say that? Does that still fly? You were actually saying, are we still allowed to say that woman's rather attractive? I'm vibing her, you know.
Yeah, and the thing is, but that's what it is. That's kind of like that's how the masculine thing kind of works. You know what I mean? It's like, yes, it is the superficial thing initially. And then you do all the rest of the stuff that ties you with them forever or for 10
Yeah.
years, 25 years, whatever it is. But yeah, men are, like women too, they're attracted by what they see. That's the first form of, you know what I mean? You like what
Impulse,
you
yeah.
see, and you go a little bit further. There's nothing wrong there's nothing wrong with understanding what you really are, and your instincts as a human. They're there for a reason. They exist, and that's all
Yeah.
right. But just because something doesn't fit into the narrative that you've been told, it doesn't mean it doesn't exist. It doesn't mean it's not real, and it doesn't. And because we do have complex thought, and we're not these single cell amoebas anymore, we have to learn to adapt, and we have to learn to say this is different in our world, and that's, you know what I mean, that's all right. It doesn't even have to be all right. Then you just leave it alone. You don't have to like disturb its peace either. You don't have to kill it. It's not, people acting like it's Frankenstein's monster, and they have to go to the castle with a pitchfork and torches, and they have to kill something because they can't understand it. It's like, yo,
And you know what? So it's sometimes it comes to me. Sometimes people might think I'm a snob, but sometimes it comes down to, do I agree with the people who can't spell or the people who can? You know, it's amazing how many people it's amazing how many people are opposed to this situation are saying it shouldn't be allowed. And
yeah,
they're saying
yeah,
allowed.
allowed, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So,
But
you know
I
what I
heard
mean?
I heard your nickname growing up was Count Snobula.
It could have been. You know,
And you
it was
lived in
well, the truth
you
is the
lived in a
truth. And
castle. You lived in a castle that wasn't
see,
Buckingham.
See, this is the statement from Caravaggio here. He says the truth is the truth and will always be the truth. That's right, but we don't know what the truth is, do we?
But what
Definitively.
truth has he heard, and who's told him
Yeah.
that
What
truth?
is your position? Well, what he said previously is XY chromosomes must be a man. This isn't right, and if this continues, it won't be pretty
But
for women's
nobody knows
boxing.
whether she does have XY chromosomes for sure, right?
No, and even if
And
see,
even if he does have XY chromosomes, it doesn't
so
necessarily
many of
make
these
it.
people said if you're born with a penis, you're a man. If you're born with a vagina, you're a woman. This is the first time I've heard so many of that mob say different now. They've got someone they're willing to accept was born with a vagina. They're saying it's still a man. That is a new one for me.
Yeah.
That's only the last 2 weeks that has happened.
And say that again. So you do believe that, right? That if it is born with a penis, it's male.
Yeah, yes, I think it's very difficult to argue against that. Yes,
Exactly.
but what they're saying is this some babies are born without a penis, but they have internal testes which form and grow and start forming a testosterone path, and they create male puberty as and when the time is right. That's what they believe.
Say that again.
Lowell, do you want me to give you a philosophy lesson? He says. Sure, I would love that. Especially if you wanted to come on the show and do it, because
Yeah.
we're always up for a philosophy lesson, right,
Yeah.
Silky?
How does philosophy? I mean, how does that
According
relate to? How does that
Edie
relate to?
Brickell, it's the talk on a cereal box.
How do you mean? I'm
Don't
sorry, I
you remember
missed.
that song by Edie Brickell and the New Bohemians?
Oh, what I am is what I am.
Yeah, it's just your philosophy is the talk on a cereal box.
That's right.
Yeah,
Religion.
yeah, exactly. So,
Wow, Ben, you got me on that one. That was good.
yeah, yeah, it's a very Silk type reference, really.
Well, you
But
know what? It was your accent threw me off.
yeah, you've always got an excuse. I know that. I appreciate that. I've said this on the podcast weeks ago. However, my opinion has changed. Yeah, and that's a man who didn't change his mind, never had a mind to change to begin with, Danny. You know,
There you go.
it's
Preach, Ben. I like that.
So this is the thing. Like I say, I'm still not got this fixed position where I have to hold it down and double down now. If someone can prove to me that Khelif has male advantage and is fully complicitly aware of male advantage, and there's more of a backstory to prove that this is actually a man beating up women and fighting women, then I'll be the first to admit it. But I'm not seeing that based on all of. I've looked into her amateur record. I've looked into the IBA's position. I've looked into the phenomenon of DSDs. I've done my homework, and I'm my gut feeling when I see her, I see Khelif. I see a woman, a female who looks a bit manly, who happens to be a boxer, and not the first one I've seen, and not the most manly one I've seen. That's what I'm seeing.
Exactly. I've seen female amateur boxers here live that you know what I mean. They have incredible muscle definition and still function as a, you know what I mean. They have like, you look at them and they're not what. Yeah, they're.
Oh, as an
Not
update
like
on the philosophy.
conventional, what we like to consider as conventional females, right? Like they don't have that. You know, so much of it is that, you know, we're used to, you know, with the curls in their hair and being, you know, very reserved in terms of like how we in modern day today would like to see our females, like how a lot of men would like to see their females.
Basically the female volleyball, right? Look for the volleyball in the Olympics. That's what we want.
Yeah, the beach volleyball. Oh my God, crazy. Yeah, the women's sprinting team too is incredible.
You know what? I don't mind that either, Silk. You know that more athletic female, often ethnic female of the sprinters.
Absolutely, yes.
Some guys think they're a bit kind of six-packed up and a bit muscular, but I think it's good. I think it's all good.
No, it's absolutely. This is the human body when it's in levels of, when it's at that level of performance. And that's what I'm saying with this girl from Algeria. She is trained specifically. Her body is not what her normal body would be. Like her body out of training is not the one you're seeing right there.
No.
It's not the same body in competition. You look at like, I mean, you look at any professional fighter, male fighter, their body is not what it's like going into a fight. It's absolutely different. So you know, they're going to have more curves. They'll appear softer. Even the facial, you know what I mean? Instead of whenever somebody loses weight and they lose all the fluids in their body they put out to make weight, they're much more sharper, defined, harder. They have veins. They have that what we like to call masculinity and not you know their bodies converted into being able to fight efficiently. That's all it is. And that means, they're going to be striations. There's definition. There's muscle where you wouldn't think there's muscle before. You know, that's what a body toned for the fight does.
Black and White Truths, which is Federico Martone. I think, is that how you spell the name? I don't know if it's Martone or Martone, since we've only ever communicated on Facebook.
Black and White Truths.
Do you want to read it or shall I?
I have to pinhole in order to see it.
All right, so let's not do that. The burden of proof is not on Khelif because she doesn't fit a feminine stereotype. It's entirely possible for a woman to be born with a vagina, a uterus, and still have XY chromosomes. And obviously, we're not saying it's normal because, of course, it's not normal. But it can happen.
It's not normal, but it's science. And if science says that she's a female, she's a female. What can you do?
And if she was mowing people down like Ann Wolf, it might be different, right?
Yeah. And Ann Wolf is, as far as I knew, was 100% female too. And you know, she hit a guy and she would knock the guy out. And so would who was the girl from Sweden? Amazing.
Lucia Riker? Not
Riker, yes, Lucia Riker. She was another one. But I mean, she went in the ring against guys and she didn't fare so well. But she was definitely, you know, a very, I don't know, people would like to say it's like a male temperament, but it's not a male temperament. It's like
fighter's temperament.
We can't masculinize aggression. It's not a masculine trait. Aggression, fighting is not a masculine trait. Every single living organism, whether male or female, will fight to defend itself or fight to hunt. It kills to hunt. Females as well as male. it's just the female maybe doesn't weigh as much or doesn't have as much muscle mass, but that's it. The same temperament, same mind, kill or be killed mind. That's just the way it is, and people have to get out of that.
Guys, can anyone tell us if Khelif is in the ring yet? Because it's got to be pretty soon. I think. What time is it? It's is it 10 to? Yeah, I believe she's due in the ring in literally now. It would be interesting. I would be interested if anyone could give us an update because the fight's only an amateur fight, as you know. It'll be over almost as soon as it started. Caravaggio says, "I'm only winding you up, but they are intersex, and it's not right, champs. If they want to introduce an intersex division, I'm sure it would be very popular. I don't know about that. Silk, do you fancy coming to the intersex championships with me a week on Sunday? I'm not. Do you think there's a big market for it?
And intersex is exactly what? So they have both genitalia, and so they have to fight in a both genitalia league.
I don't know. It's funny, because Kathy, your friend of mine, was telling me she had a transgender tennis coach. But the advertisement was for a guy called whatever, a male name. And when she turned up, she met a woman. But apparently, because he was only just transitioning. So, but the thing that I said to her is, I'm guessing he can play mixed doubles on his own, right?
Listen, transitioning is an absolutely different thing.
You're frozen,
than when you were born, right? Am I still frozen?
No, you're back.
Okay,
Don't worry about that.
Transitioning is a whole different kettle of fish. It's not
Of course
even.
it is. Of course it is. Of course it is.
Yeah.
I was making a joke about being able to play mixed doubles on one's own, but just without that was the joke. But
yeah, you never need a girlfriend or a boyfriend. You're getting the best of both worlds.
Yeah, but like I say, the initial, and you know what? The initial screaming narrative started with a video. It said, "Man beats up woman in Olympics." That was before she'd even boxed in the Olympics. They were looking at a fight from December 2022 against a Mexican girl. So there was so much nonsense. People need to. I know people talk about you can't trust mainstream media sources, or you have to take it with a pinch of salt. Do your own research is the great exhortation from all the internet gurus, right? But you've really got to be careful about some of these non-authenticated platforms.
We're coming to that realization. We're just coming to that realization about media and everything, because we've always seen it as the truth. We've always seen it as what's come around, what's been given to us. We're only being fed the truth. And that isn't necessarily so. And at the same time, some people do try to uphold standards, a standard of truth. And I don't know. I don't. So then you end up deferring to something that agrees with you, agrees with your thoughts. You know what I mean? And you think, well, if they're saying it, and we kind of have, when we say things, we have that, that little inner narcissist that we all have to some degree, some balance, some imbalance. We say things, we agree with things that agree with our ideals, and that's not always fair.
If shaved chimps like Piers Morgan and Donald Trump say she's a man, you can guarantee she's a woman. Sometimes you can pick your side by the people who are going against you, right? It's a bit like, there's a guy called Bill Deltloff who we saw out in Atlantic City when we were there last year, and he runs a thing called Ringside Seat. And he was saying that Herbert Muhammad Ali's former manager, should be in the Hall of Fame. And I remember when I shared that suggestion, Frank Lotierzo said, there can be no bigger indictment against it than Detloff being for it. And sometimes it comes down to that kind of thing, doesn't it? You see what, who's advocating something. And if you've never agreed with those people about anything else, I mean, Piers Morgan came out with, if that's a biological male, a biological female, then I'm a biological aardvark. But that's just...
Yeah. I mean, sometimes, listen, they can get it right too sometimes, but the thing is, when you're wrong, you're wrong. Even a stop clock is right twice a day, as they say.
Exactly.
But, you know what I mean? You can be right. You can be 99% wrong all the time and still, you know what I mean? And still be right every once in a while, but it's just not, it is unusual. It is unusual.
Listen,
whether that's done because of sensationalism or whether that's done because, I find it hard to believe when you have proof in your face, how do you continue? What is it about it that doesn't allow you to say, I was wrong, you were right, and you know what I mean? That's okay. I just don't understand that. What's so hard? What's so hard about what's so hard about it?
Remind me what kind of vehicle Salvador Sanchez met his end in?
I thought it was a Mach 2, like a Mustang, Ford
Yeah, you
Mustang.
thought it was a grey Mustang, and I said
Yeah.
I told you it was a white Porsche, and then you had a real hard time with that, and then when it was confirmed by the fact checker, you were like,
No. Did you ever provide a picture? I thought it was a
There you
silver.
go. There you
I thought
go.
it was
This is.
I thought it was a silver Mach 2
No,
Mustang or whatever in those
I didn't
days.
provide a picture. I just went on the records that are available, all the reports,
Oh,
and
all
said
the
it was a white
reports.
Porsche. Yeah, white Porsche 925.
I don't. You know what? A good thing with me, I have like I have is like a sieve. My mind is like a what do
Yeah.
they call those things? Reward. It's porous in terms of memory.
See,
Things go
this is
through.
the other thing as well. Some people already want to reach a conclusion. Caravaggio says at least we can trust doctors and medical professionals. You can't trust them all, can you? Because how many misdiagnoses have been in the history of the world? And also, which doctors have commented on it? There's only one medical professional I've heard comment on this, and she's
Yeah,
she's in the male shouldn't be competing camp. But she didn't have
yeah,
any information about Khalif in particular.
yeah,
She just
yeah.
said,
I think most people with medical, you know what I mean, that are medical professionals, I think they probably are just rolling their eyes and like, oh my God, we got to go through this again. You know what I mean? Like we have to keep explaining. How many times do you have to explain this? You probably can't even believe that. I mean, that we think so primitively after being 10, 25, 35, 45 years in the medical profession. They probably think everybody knows this basic BS by now. You know what I mean? But they don't, and it just has to be explained over and over again. This is something that it isn't common knowledge. Like the things that are going on right now is not common knowledge to anybody except for those that have studied medicine. You know what I mean?
yeah,
You and I haven't studied medicine, but we're on the other side of like we have I mean, I'm not saying we're, God's gift to the world or anything, but we generally like to, we're more empathetic. We understand where people are coming from, and
yeah,
you try to understand the other person's pain or whatever it is first. And then there are other people just like they don't give us anything about somebody's pain and discomfort, and they refuse to. It is for what for its value, like its skin value. That's where it is, and that's not necessarily, that's not necessarily how do you live a peaceful existence like that? How do you live a non conflicting? How do you not conflict with everybody on things? Because you don't have any understanding of how the other side, how other people live and what they need to live, and you actually don't even their life isn't. There's no way they can qualify their existence.
yeah.
It's just,
Well, I was just googling to see if the results in yet because, like I say, she was scheduled in the ring at 21:51 UK time, I believe.
yeah.
So I don't see any results in yet because if she wins, that's going to be a big deal. There's going to be even more noise, and then there's obviously the question still: will she turn pro? Regardless, win or lose,
Yeah, yeah. I'm
and
sure
how
she
will
will.
that pan
You know
out?
what she, she's gonna do? She's gonna relocate to the United States. She's gonna hook up with a great promoter. She's gonna have a fight, probably in New York City or Las Vegas, and they're going to use the controversy as a selling point, and she's gonna make $1 billion. That's basically it. That's
Yeah,
basically what's gonna happen, and eventually she's gonna be proven to be what she is. You know what I mean? Like that's all there is to it. And people are gonna find out. People are gonna find out just that way. Just
yeah.
through. It's gonna be. Listen, today more than any other day before, they know how to milk it.
Market stuff. They know how to
Yeah,
market.
marketing milk it. It's like this is all. There's no. You can't be wrong. There's always a selling point, and the world is diverse enough now that you always will have a following. So she'll have people that understand her and follow her. She'll have people that hate her. But either way, both of them are going to be paying to see her perform.
Yeah.
And that's
Exactly.
and that's a promoter's dream. The promoter doesn't have to live with the day-to-day stuff. The promoter doesn't have to, worry about the violence coming their way or like that. I'm sure Khalif, she must have the biggest security in the place. You know what I mean? Because you
Yeah,
don't know who's going to come at you and where they
for
come.
sure.
They probably don't. They probably can't even tell you what dormicile she's in or anything like that. You
Nah,
know
you
what I
can
mean?
imagine, and they've made her obviously globally famous with this controversy. And like I say, when she was campaigning at elite level before in previous Olympics and previous World Championships, she was competing in complete obscurity with no heat and no outrage at all.
Yeah, she cannot walk alone now, and and it's a shame. But I think at the same time, she understands. She has to understand, that she's a talking point now. She's a talking point about more than just boxing. She's talking about something that the world is having trouble wrestling with, and
Yeah.
she's more than boxing now, basically.
Okay. Well, let's see what happens. I was hoping we could reveal the result on this show, but I ain't seen it yet, Silk. So maybe we'll come back to that on Sunday. We are going to talk about other stuff, by the way. I mean, I don't mean tonight, but Virgil Ortiz is out tomorrow night facing Serhiy Bohachuk from Ukraine typically for the WBC interim title at junior middleweight. It's a shame the way everything's got to be for an interim title these days instead of just a meaningful international
Yeah.
matchup or an eliminator or something. But that is the way it is, right? So,
Yeah, yeah. It's interesting because you get all the taglines that go with it. You're the interim number one for the diamond belt,
yeah.
and and boxing isn't that difficult. Boxing is a lot simpler than that, really.
Yeah. Indeed. But all right, well let's see. You got some sessions this afternoon.
No, I'm actually finished. What right now is going to happen is John Scully is having a get
Oh yeah,
together.
yeah.
Yeah.
This is where
So,
we need you to have a good camera and a microphone
oh,
this
do we?
weekend. Well, you're going to be
No,
with a
it's
whole bunch of guys.
yeah, yeah. So before then, like right now, we're going to. Have you ever seen Seinfeld? And
Yeah,
Seinfeld,
the restaurant. Yeah, I used to.
yeah, the restaurant. So that's where we're all going to gather right now. Like
Tom's
Joey Boy,
Diner. It's called.
it's called what?
It was called Tom's Diner. That's the
Tom's
actual
Diner. Yes,
informal
that's
name for it.
exactly it. Well, I live 2 blocks away from it. Tom's Diner.
Is that where
So
you live? Because I used to live just up the road from that restaurant back in 2003. I
yeah,
was hanging out. I was staying with this escort girl from Albuquerque. Like you do.
an escort girl from Albuquerque.
Yeah, that's right. Um, but I was up there most recently. I never knew you
Well, who
lived up
did
there.
she escort?
Well, just whoever was quite an interesting, diverse cast of characters. Quite
Uh-huh.
honestly, yeah.
And escort them to what? Heaven?
Well, you know what an escort is, I'm sure. you know, but I never knew you lived up in the Upper East Side like that.
Yeah, yeah. No, Upper West Side. I
Sorry,
did
Upper
live
West
on the
Side.
Upper East Side,
So,
but I lived on this place is on the Upper West Side, right?
so it's
And I
Upper
lived,
West Side. Sorry, yeah, yeah.
yeah, and I was 106 in Broadway. Where did you stay?
You know what? It was so close to that. It was like an apartment block, quite a high rise, quite high. There was a place called the Malibu Hotel opposite it, which is like a fairly cheap
Yeah,
motel. That
yeah,
was pretty
yeah,
much opposite. Tom's Diner was nearby.
yeah.
There was another place I can't remember. There's a name of another diner I always used to go to that was right there. But it was, it's that area they call Columbia. I think,
Oh yeah,
Or,
yeah, Columbia. That's right by the university. It's a
exactly.
great area. It's so beautiful. It's so
Yeah,
incredibly beautiful there.
yeah. I took a walk around there for old time's sake when I was with you last year.
Yeah.
When I was
Isn't it crazy doing that? It's almost like teleporting if you have that kind of mind that can,
for
you know what I
sure.
mean?
I
Yeah,
went back to Harlem and stuff, Malcolm X
yeah,
Boulevard, because I had
yeah,
memories there.
yeah.
And
Memories like that.
I'm definitely hoping to be
Again, there's
there
that
again.
word, misty watercolored memories.
Yeah.
We started
See,
with it. We
we
started
can
with it. We're ending with it. Full circle.
on that note. Okay, yeah. Okay, so Silk, in the next 48 hours, if you can get some coverage, great. If
Yeah.
there's issues with the sound, I get it. But
Yeah,
let's see what we can do.
I'll get some stuff. I'm not sure what fighters are going to be there.
Whoever you
But
manage to get, if you can get them even for 10 minutes lucidly, it was somewhere quiet. That's the thing.
yeah, somewhere quiet. Yeah, that's gonna be different.
Yeah, unless if you want to get a few little snippets stuff, if it's in a loud environment, right, and you just want to get a few funny sound bites, get them quick, like 60 seconds, 90 seconds, and I'll caption it, and it could just be
Okay.
some little short. We could use them as
Okay.
shorts for the channel, yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Shorts.
Yeah.
Knickers. You mean knickers? Knickers.
Well, now we're getting back into the realm of gender identity politics. I
Here
feel.
we go.
But,
Ray and Graba.
she
Graba.
won. She's won. Yeah, she's won.
Yeah. Win
First
in the
round.
first round. First round stoppage.
That's what he
Or
seems
she
to be
won the
saying.
first round.
Yeah, well, I don't know. I don't know. See, that's what I don't know because English is not the first language, so I don't know. Shall we? Oh, I
She
guess.
may win round one. That means she won the first round, or she won the whole fight in the first round.
Well, that's what we don't know. I understand your conundrum, and I don't know either. Maybe listen. You guys are not doing a podcast, so some of you could help us out here. Some of you, internet sleuths could probably figure this out for us. I mean, I've got the laptop here, but I'm not getting the update.
Well,
But I
probably because
guess
you don't have it atop your lap. You'd be surprised how much more effective it is when it's atop your lap.
yeah, the clue is in the terminology when all said and done. Listen, Silk, I think we'll wrap it there. We will find the result and we will talk about it. We apologise for the absence of Gary Stretch tonight, but he was, as I say, he's in transit. He was in Bulgaria. God knows where he is now. He might be in Greece again. Who knows? But thank you for bearing with us again and sitting through another, no doubt, fascinating episode of Sugar, Silk and Stretch. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't done so already. Please like, share, comment, all of that good stuff. We'll be back on Sunday regardless. Silk's going to be hanging out with a bunch of legendary ex-fighters this weekend, and we sincerely hope he gets some kind of content that survives the kind of background noise. In the meantime, be lucky, keep punching.